Welcome back to Between Two Racks with the Kilo Crew. On today's episode, we're going to discuss a topic that was sent in by one of our viewers, which was things we believe that can be done better on the gym floor. So, let's kick it. So I'm sure we're going to have a few items that we'll cover in this. Obviously, we train in our facility on a daily basis, but over the years, we've either been in public gyms or, worked in public gyms, visited them, and then also during our courses, we're surrounded by trainers as well, and we hear what they have to say. So let's cover one thing we believe that can be done better on the gym floor to get us started. Porrick?
So one thing I see a lot of people struggling with is spotting. So it's a very, very simple concept, but it's actually, you have to put a bit of thought and attention into what you're trying to do. So a lot of things that can go wrong with spotting is, firstly, people spot the bar way, way, way too early. Yeah. So like the rule of thumb is until the bar starts moving down, don't touch the bar. Stay away from the bar.
I think it's one of those things too where you also kind of need to know the person you're spotting. So obviously that's hard if you're in a public gym and you're just asking a random person. So it's kind of like knowing what to tell them, because I've seen it in classes here where it's like it gets... People are ready to throw some punches because someone touched their bar too early.
Well, I know, like in a public gym, someone's asked me to help them spot before, and I will tell them before they start their set, I am not touching this bar until it's going back down. So they're aware that they got to keep fighting for it, and I will help if they're going to fail, but until that point, the bar's not going to be touched.
I see a lot of people like not hold the bar, but they have their hands on the bar the whole time, and I don't know. That's annoying. So annoying. But I guess it's like a personal security thing for some people.
Personally, I know we're kind of all on the same page. I don't want to see you until I'm dying, so I need to see you.
Yeah, because that's what a spot is, right? Like I know I'm able to do reps by myself. I just want a spot for when I'm about to fail and I can't do it by myself. I don't want the continuous spot with the hands on for like 6 reps.
Yeah, so like a good rule of thumb is you shouldn't be in someone's eye line until they need you. So like if they want to lift out the bar, you help them out and then you take a step back. They should be fine. It's not like if they're taking on a weight that they don't think they can even control the eccentric, they have no right to be doing that weight. So they should be fine. They should be able to do a momentary concentric action no matter what. So you have time to step in and spot if needed. But most of the time you aren't spotting someone on a 1RM where you have to be really on the ball like that. Most of the time it is for reps. So
because I remember like at university, like spotting, when the spotter is bent over, like over your face. So you're doing the exercise, you see his face in front of you. I mean, it's bad for both, the lifter and the spotter. Example, I once was the bencher and my spotter's head was over my face and he kept dripping sweat on my face. That is annoying. Then I was once the spotter, and as I lean over to help the guy, he kept breathing out garlic breath, like
and then
hardcore.
They spit sometimes when they...
So I think that kind of reminded me to step back.
So because this is something I believe I remember being taught in old school, like PICP courses, like how to spot the bar. We don't kind of see that much anymore. I know during our classes, we kind of, if it's something we see being an issue, we'll take a break and go over it. But if one of you kind of wants to cover all of the specifics in terms of how we view actually
on the
getting
bench.
the bar.
Yeah, I mean, for the bench, it's definitely easier and safer for both people to spot with a pronated grip. That way you can, when you spot them, you're pulling the bar straight up necessarily. But if you're like this, you tend to pull the bar back and then it hits the pins and like it throws you off. But you're stronger this way than trying to, or even like both hands supinated, like you're trying to curl the bar. That's not going to work much, but you're definitely in a better position if you're pronated.
I think it's also, I mean, we've seen it where the person needs to know not to let go of the bar.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yes.
So whoever's completing the lift, you keep pushing until that bar's re-racked.
Yeah, it's just it's not like you
stop.
go from not pushing it to not being able to push it. You just need a little bit of assistance. But then with dumbbells too, I like to tell people to spot like at the wrist, because a lot of people try to spot at the elbow, and then so if you start to fail, typically the dumbbell's going to want to go this way or that way. So if you spot at the elbow, you're not really protecting the person from the weights, the dumbbells falling back on them.
One of the craziest story I've heard that I'm still shocked to this day, like that was 2014-ish that this guy told me the story. So he's a colleague of ours, and he was saying that one time in a gym, he asked somebody to spot him on Scott curl. So he set up, on the Scott bench. He asked the guy to give him the barbell so we could start curling from the bottom position. And the spotter basically dropped the barbell 3-4 inches above his hands.
Yep.
So as that lifter grabbed the barbell, both biceps snapped. Oh, because imagine you're in full extension at the elbows. Then you need to catch and withstand the eccentric load of a
that's why you
4-inch drop.
Slowly let the bar go, and then you ask the person, or you tell them, you got it, whatever, you say something, your bar, something.
And then when we're on this, we should probably cover exercises that you shouldn't spot.
Overhead press.
So yes, you don't spot an overhead press. You either make the lift or you don't, and bring the bar back down to your chest. Don't spot a deadlift. We've seen that.
The gym fail video.
Oh yeah, some spotting the deadlift with their chin.
I think also it goes to you, if you have a power rack, set up your
the
side
pins.
pins. So if you fail,
It's not a big deal.
yeah, you fail onto the pins.
Yep.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if you don't use a spotter, don't scream across the gym and expect the spotter not to remember.
I mean, I've had 2 occurrences.
She's done this. So she's on the incline. She's doing incline press. I'm across the gym. And you're like, Alice, you're stuck. So I run because I see her failing. I run and then I trip over the thing
And shove the bar down onto me.
I kind of fall over the bar onto her. So
That was just one of those scenarios that didn't work out. And then I was also training in the giant 20,000 square foot gym in Rhode Island at Poliquin alone one morning. I was on bench and I knew Steph had walked in, but I was stuck. I mean, you can roll the bar done, but I knew he was in there. So I was just like, Steph! He came. I was chilling.
Then, so that's obviously spotting as one person, but you can also spot as 2 people. So both people at the sides of the barbell. While it's definitely not as controlled, it can be safer with heavier loads. And the main thing you see go wrong there is lack of communication, lack of awareness between the 2 spotters. So
And positioning.
And positioning, yeah. So everyone should be trying to keep whatever way they choose to spot. So say it's an underhand at hip height, say for a bench press. Okay, both of them do that. Both stay within the same rough range of cadence. If it's going to be for a squat, you're safer having a goblet position and both squatting down with the squatter. But you just need to be aware of what the other spotter's doing. Make sure you're going at the same time. Having communication that we're going to take, once we hit the end of the tempo count, we're both going to lift off. There's going to be a 3-2-1 your bar again before the lifter's expected to do the next lift. So just having more communication.
I was going to say, communication is definitely key here because it's whatever you prefer. I mean, we're lucky, fortunate to have each other, so we kind of all know what to look out for. Yeah. Everyone knows that I can grind out a concentric for 20 seconds and I still might finish it. So it's really, don't touch it until that bar is going back down. So it's communicating with your clients or with your training partners to know what they're looking for in spotting. Okay. Any other remarks on spotting?
I mean, I told this story in the last course we had, but University again, I'm benching and I ask somebody to spot me. And he comes to spot me. And he's one of those guys that like really he gets on you, right? So I had his crotch in my face as he's spotting me. So on top of having the crotch of another person's in your face while you're grinding out a rep, this guy, what I learned after is he kept the same short in the locker of the gym locker room at university, and the short smelled so freaking bad. It was
knowing
disgusting.
you, didn't like you don't hide things well.
I'm sure it showed in my face, but I didn't say a word.
Okay, I guess that's also you.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was brutal. So yeah, so bad spot combined with bad smell
Do your laundry.
leads to a bad experience. But it's like it was like smelling salt though. Like
You're like, I'm finishing this rep.
Real quick.
yeah, that was brutal.
Well, that can lead into the next thing is body odor.
Yeah, that's the worst. I can't stand
It's
that.
really, I don't understand how people aren't aware of their, and if you do, like some people struggle with body odor, so just know that you need to shower before and after.
Or keep
And change your
body
clothes
wipes,
and,
have
like-
deodorant, change of clothes.
Yeah, especially when you see a trainer that has body odor. I don't understand. That's, yeah. And just hygiene, right?
Yeah.
Use a towel. Like, don't leave the bench all sweaty.
Wasn't hygiene like the point of episode 1 that
I
you
know,
brought up?
and because it was
on a
at the
mission.
end. It was at the end, so hopefully not everyone's going to hear it this time.
Yeah, I don't know how much. It's true. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because you wonder, do they not know?
They have to know.
I mean, they can't.
Like, don't
know.
they have like one really close friend who is like, dude, you just need to,
I like how
Put
it's
extra.
automatically a dude.
dude.
I know,
I mean-
I know it mostly is.
It mostly is. But no, there's been women too, but women I think are more in tune. Women have a better sense of smell than men. It's been proven. We walk into his face and we're like,
Sniffing them out. Personal hygiene. You got
Personal
another one,
hygiene.
Alex?
I mean, I got a bunch. Counting tempo and reps. Like, so we have some people who like to count really, really loud. So and again, you just have to know your training
Personal
partner.
preference, yeah.
But you also have to be aware of the people around you. Like if you're in a public gym and then you're counting and you're just being obnoxious and being loud and stuff, I think you just have to be aware of those things. But
Yeah, because there's a big difference between working in a public gym and working in like a collegiate strength room.
yeah.
Like if you're a collegiate strength coach and you're counting the tempo for 6 racks at once, you're expected to be loud and
loud,
control
yeah.
that room. If you're working 1-to-1 with a
With a
personal trained client who's squatting 95 pounds for the first time ever, you don't need to shout in someone's ear. It's not going to help anyone.
But it's knowing your client.
Yeah.
So I have a client now, and she's like, she doesn't like when I count too much. So I have to count like just enough. And then she gets mad when I don't say anything. And then at the end, she's like, how many do I have left? I'm like, you're the one who told me not to count. And then sometimes I catch myself. Well, she catches me, and I just count like I kind of whisper under my breath. And she's like, I can hear your lips moving. I'm like, God.
That checks out.
Just know your people.
I always liked, because I didn't do this when I trained alone, and then it was when I started training under you guys. I know not everyone does this, and I don't remember how you do
I
it.
think he counts them.
Oh, no, I don't.
counts
I get too confused when I try to count tempo backwards. And tempo up and reps down. Yep, nope, doesn't happen.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because when you guys trained me, I liked the tempo and then the reps
Counting down.
counting down. Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've always done.
Well, that's what we were taught
Taught,
in
yeah.
PICP back in 2003 because there was this study that came out from a psychological journal where they determined that athletes respond better when there's a goal and there's a target. So the whole idea with counting backward is the goal and the target is always the same, and the athlete is not confused by it. So let's say we have a phase you're doing 10 reps, and then you have another phase you're doing 6 reps, and then another phase you're doing 8 reps. So that changes all the time. But if you're counting backwards, it's like a countdown, and the end goal is that 1 or that 0, that last rep. So when you know that there's a goal and you feel that goal is coming and it's a consistent goal, there's this feeling of like drive and excitement. So they established that over the long run, the athlete would perform more total reps at the end of a training year by counting backwards instead of counting upwards. And because, Charles and PICP and like Nelson and Andre and all the people involved were so about like optimizing performance to the utmost level, they taught us to count backward for that effect. So me and Alex, we've been doing this for so long that it's second nature. So 10 reps would be like 10, 9, 8. And then we're counting the tempo as well, especially in the early stages. It's like we're counting the tempo of every rep of every set all the time, but it's to set the tone earlier on. So at least the person, the trainee knows what to expect. But that's the story behind it.
Yeah, but because now I'm forgetting because it's been a while since you guys have counted my tempo of reps. But was it that you go 4, 3, 2, 1, 10, or do you say 10 on the 1?
Well, depends. Steph is different than I do. I count the rep on the concentric. So I'd say 4, 3, 2, 1, 10, and 10 is when they push up.
Yeah. And then you.
So like me, it's the same thing. So so let's say I say 1, then all you need to do is finish the last half of the rep and you're done. So that's how I do it.
That's not. I'm saying when.
So I start. So let's say you're benching. You're starting on top. Okay. So I'll be like 10, 9.
Yeah, see. It's
8.
It's different.
So by the time I say 1, all you need to do is you finish it. So you finish your 1.
Yeah. Yeah, in my head, when I count my own stuff now, it depends on how many reps it is, on how I count my reps. Because as soon as I'm hitting like 20 or more reps on leg press or anything high reps, I count by 5.
Yeah.
Or
3s, or like whatever. Like.
The only time I count upwards or normal is when it's max reps or max reps for time or something like that. So because it would be ridiculous to count backwards when you don't know what the target is.
-5, -6.
So, but that's just semantics.
And I think your other point with tempo, you're always trying to reinforce with people, is just accuracy with
4, 3, 2, 1 is not 4 seconds. And then I know I tend to count a little slow.
Yeah, you do.
I overcompensate for all the people who count too fast. But yeah, you basically just have to pause in between each count. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's definitely a slow 4 seconds.
You'll be stronger.
Okay. What else do we have?
Ooh, people who badly load barbells. So the plates are all over the place. So say it's a 45, then like 10s, then like 35s. Like, the chances of you misloading a barbell if you do this is so high.
Yeah.
So take your time, put the biggest plates on the inside, use as little plates as possible to get to the total load. Yeah. And the chances of you misloading are far less because the amount of people I've seen, like, they start stripping the bars, like, I had 5 pounds, 10 pounds extra on one side. Yeah, no shit.
What did we call that? Economy of
loading?
Of plates? I don't know. Like, there was something we said in PICP, economy of plates or something. Anyways. Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, I see it all the time. Especially, like, Go to a commercial gym.
Oh my
You're
God.
going to see it more often than you see it done the right way. As people grab whatever plate's nearest.
And
stick
that
it on.
ties directly into putting
the
things
plates
away. Not even just plates, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
But that was just what you're talking about, like plate economy. And this is very minute, but again, we're talking about like tiny increase in performance. It's just that, so let's say that you want 225 on the barbell, so you put two 45-pound plates. But if you get the 225, but you use like multiple 10-pound plates, well, that same 225 will be slightly harder.
Yep.
Simply because the load is spread over a larger surface.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very small.
Yeah.
Yeah, at 225, it's very small, but if it's at 405, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
Because the whip and the bar, it's really significant at that stage.
So like again, that was another man, because you have to understand back then that course was like 5 days 5 days for lower body, 5 days for upper body. So there was a lot we went through, and then we had to do one of the tests is we had to actually do a full-blown assessment that was recorded, and we had to do everything right. We had to count backwards. We had to count the tempos. We had to spot properly. There was so many steps involved, so it was just ingrained into us from our early 20s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know that it would be so cool. I know we're going to be releasing our level 4 coach exam soon, where we have a multiple choice. How many questions?
I think 45.
45 multiple choice questions, and then it will be a randomized case study that they'll have to send in, and then the passing grade is
High.
We haven't determined that yet. But it'll be high.
Yeah.
But it would be, obviously we won't, but I wonder, because we do through the platform we'll be using, have the ability to have them upload videos or something, because I do think there's something to be said for some type of assessment where we're watching them execute a training program. That would be cool.
Putting your stuff away. So commercial gyms, and this drives me crazy. When you go up to the dumbbell rack and the dumbbells are
like all
not
over.
in order. Like, it's not that hard. Goes lightest, all the way across. Like, why would someone have 100-pound dumbbells on the top shelf, 5-pound dumbbells in the middle shelf? Like, it just is stupid.
But that's like, it takes one person to throw the whole thing off, right?
And then everyone just gets lazy.
Yeah, because then you're like, I don't want to be there sitting there correcting the whole thing. So the people who do work at the gym, if they were diligent about always keeping it right, then it would just become the culture. And then we experienced it in HB with our primate. Everyone knew that where the weights went, and they would correct themselves. Like, I didn't even have to say it after a while. So it's really like a culture you have to reinforce it. It's a lot of work at first, but then just freaking do it.
I agree, but why do people need to be so like disrespectful of others and not care whatsoever about the rest of humanity? It's like no, but it's so blatantly disrespectful. Sure. They just don't care. It's like you know how much I hate littering? It's the equivalent to me of the people that somehow they're in a parking lot, and then they open the door and they put like standing up. They put their big gulp like standing up on the
or
freaking
don't put
asphalt.
the shopping carts back in the.
It's like, come on, man! It's the same thing. Just respect the environment, the society you're in.
There's always one person.
It's so annoying. And
messes it up for everybody.
But I remember in the gym that I trained in before I had my own space at home, like I used to actually organize the place before I trained. If it was really crazy, I was like, I can't do it. I have to somewhat get a bit of organization just so
your mental headspace was in the right place.
Exactly. It's such just like training in a messy gym it leads to worse sessions. It just does, because you're going to get pissed off and you're going to make a bad decision because you can't find what you're looking for. So it's like, no, not worth it.
or gyms that are like really like they're set up in such a non-functional way that to set up like equipment is like a pain.
Yeah.
Like, and me, like sometimes it's enough of a pain that I'll skip the exercise. I'll do something else.
Leg press.
What about leg press?
That's always like, the squat rack's too messed up. Do leg press.
This press the best.
The squat rack set up for bench right now. May as well just do leg press.
Yeah. But even leg press, like I've been in gyms.
Oh yeah, those plates
and
get real messed up.
No. It's not even that. Like I've been in a gym. I won't name it, but it's a gym that had a leg press, my favorite machine in the world. But to load the pin, you add another machine where the loading pin of the other machine was 2 inches away. So basically, you add just enough room to fit a plate in that space and put it on the pin. I'm like, man, let's set it up a little bit better.
What about using bumper plates on leg machines?
Yeah, it's a funny one, but I mean, it's if all you have is bumpers, I get it, but it's just they're so much thicker, right? So,
but it's also such an expensive way to buy plates for a leg machine.
It is.
So, if you're putting in a purchase order, add in some steel plates,
especially
a lot of money.
Especially if you're using a Leico competitive bumper plates, they're like 5 times more expensive than like a cast iron plate.
Yeah.
What else we got?
You have more, Alex?
I mean, I think the thing that annoys me the most in commercial gym are people who use equipment for other purposes than what it's meant to be.
We did a whole video on that, didn't we?
Yeah. But it drives me nuts, and especially when it's like again, like the Equinox example in Cali. When we moved, we're training at Equinox. They had 1 power rack and they had 1 squat rack for the entire gym. That's it. Then they had a Smith machine. But then it's having the people take the power rack to do dips. But like dips where like you have your feet on one hand of the safety pins and your hands on the other hand of the safety pins. So you're mobilizing the entire power rack to do dips that you could do on a bench if you had to do these dips. Anyways, it's just very annoying.
Yeah,
that's where the leg press started. Curls or
about someone came to our gym and used the calf, the standing calf.
An overhead press.
Was doing it as an overhead.
He wasn't training with us.
I would assume as much.
He was filming social media content in our facility.
And
we were like, nope, this can happen once. This is never happening again. Can't be associated to that.
Another one that it's not as much of a piss me off, but it gives me such anxiety when people don't use collars.
Yeah.
Oh, they just knowing, because most people are so sloppy when they step out of a power rack or something anyway, so they take these big choppy steps and you just see the plates slide and you're like, oh shit, someone's about to die.
They were invented for a reason.
Yeah.
They're not that hard to use.
It's not hard, it's very quick.
Yeah.
You just avoid problems.
But again, in a public gym or a commercial gym, you probably have a hard time finding the collars.
Yeah.
People used to steal collars, I think. I feel like it was always a thing we were looking for back in the day.
Yeah, but you also have like those shitty those collars that are
that would pinch
springs.
It's like a grip training.
Exactly.
Every time you have to.
Those are annoying.
Again, the gym I trained in before I had my spot, the collars used to be like the old school Olympic lifting ones. So they used they weighed 5 kg total. So you had to put them on, screw it on, but it's like they worked. It was like, all right, it's an extra 5 kilos in the bar no matter what.
I mean, the log jaw to me are the easiest, fastest.
Yeah.
You have the quickly collars are pretty cool, but sometimes they get stuck.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never seen those anywhere else except when we were in HP. Yeah.
But no, they still sell. They're just like double the price.
Yeah, so no one buys them. Yeah.
But remember they get stuck sometime, and it gets hard to like, especially if you're using it on something like deadlift, where like the banging kind of like moves it. But otherwise, they're really quick. But the lockjaw, to me, I've never had any issues with them, and it's like so quick.
Yeah, and they're not expensive.
No.
No.
What I do hate is when they don't fit on specialty bars. Specialty bars are getting better that you're using normal collars, but just like some of the ones I used to have was like I had to use the most random collars for any of them to work.
But that's not the fault of the collar. That's the fault of the maker who's making
The specialty bar.
Yeah.
I know. They don't have tight barbell tolerance.
Oh.
If you know, you know.
What Porrick is referring to is the company will remain unnamed on the podcast, but we purchased eccentric hooks, and we already had eccentric hooks. We didn't like that pair, so we purchased a new pair for an occurrence of the specialty technique seminar. Received them a couple weeks before. We were like, they're eccentric hooks. We know how to use them.
Yeah, we didn't try them.
Yeah. So we're teaching the specialty technique seminar, and we go to put the plate on what we realized was a square loading pin on the eccentric hooks. And then the plates didn't fit on the eccentric hook. So I emailed said company, and I received a very rude email back saying that our plates had tight bar tolerance.
Yep.
So Alex and I took the eccentric hooks, walked down the street to the CrossFit facility around the corner, who he has like 5-6 different, it was just like a million different plates.
Different brands of plates.
Took videos and photos, and none of the plates fit. So I sent that to the company, still didn't get an apology, but said that they would redesign and send us new eccentric hooks.
So the question is,
were we the
only
first
ones?
I mean, we had to be.
That's insane.
We had to be.
And it's not like an unknown company.
Yeah.
But
I know. But then what's funny is their redesign, the peg was circular.
Yeah, because it shouldn't have been square.
So if you ever see in videos us using eccentric hooks with chains around them, that's the reason. We're using chains.
It wasn't accommodating resistance.
We're using chains because it's the only way to load those hooks.
Oh, that was good times. What, you were about to say something, Alex?
No, I was just gonna. If we're bracing is one of my favorite things to do when we're training. So something that's really annoying is seeing people train and then their feet are moving, dancing all over the place. They're fidgeting their heads off the bench, all those things. I feel like people need to be better. And I can be guilty of moving my feet. But only on the C series.
It's because your feet, they
don't
just
reach.
They just reach.
I'd like to be well grounded on my A series.
It's true, but I think that's something that we always touch on. Well, I feel like I keep saying it every podcast episode is just quality of movement in the gym and being focused for the entire set. And like not just thinking when you're doing an upper body movement that your lower body isn't involved and vice versa. Like everything is involved when you're training. You're not shutting off one part and then just not.
What's the law of irradiation stuff?
Sherrington's law of irradiation.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, so that's it. You want me to explain that?
Yeah. Well, because that's what it is, really, right? If you tighten everything, then you'll have more.
So Sherrington's law of irradiation states that, and this is really old, it's 125-year-old, but it states that if you're like really like stiffing up like a muscle, like really hard with intent, there's an irradiation effect that will stabilize surrounding muscles and joint. So it increases stability for any type of action and performance. So that's Sherrington's law of irradiation.
Yeah.
But like a good example of this is when for doing floor presses. So you'll see two versions of floor presses and they're very different. One is the legs are straight out in front, and the other one knees are bent at 90 degrees. So the reason why the people do the legs out in front one, because it completely takes away any leg drive. Yeah. So it just completely isolates the upper body. So if you're basically doing that while you're bench pressing, you're just losing so much like potential. Like it's great if you want to do the legless floor press, great. That's a fantastic assistance.
Using it for a reason.
For a reason. But if you are constantly messing up your primary pressing exercise by, what do you call it, tiptoeing? Tap dancing. Tap dancing.
Yeah.
By tap dancing, you're just missing out on so much potential.
I think this is just kind of, I'm throwing in like a personal experience with this because you guys do always reinforce staying tight. So I do stay tight, but I was almost doing it because the whole like, it was specifically on incline press. On incline press, I kept having small little tweaks in like my neck. Steph always says I have a baby neck. We've trained it. I have a strong neck now and sturdy. But it was so frustrating because it was just on incline press it was happening. And then Steph was watching me one day and he's like, relax a little bit, because I was so like, I was digging my head so aggressively into the bench that I was tweaking my neck. So there's like a balance between staying sturdy and not like hyper getting so tight that I was causing other issues. Just saying. So if you keep tweaking,
She's a little aggressive with everything.
on the incline press. But that made a huge difference, and then it hasn't happened again since. So for those of you out there, maybe that can help someone.
Maybe that can help someone.
I'm not the only one. Other things in the gym that we think can be done better.
Just like, I just want to get back to the eccentric hooks real quick. No, but like think about it, like it's crazy how unlucky we've been with the eccentric hooks, because so we had that company that they had to redesign their hooks, okay, because it didn't work.
You're
but
like,
then
And we had to send them back, the square ones.
I know, but then the previous hook that we had before that we got rid of because we didn't like it, remember that too was their redesigned version, because their original version, we were in California and I was giving a live mentorship to a group of 4 guys from Quebec, and we were doing eccentric hooks. And it was kind of like we had just bought them, so it was the first time they were really used. But it was one of those systems where it was a screw that was locking in the height. And after a few sets of using the hooks, the screw got
Screwed.
It was unmovable. We, like Kelsey was filming, we spent 30 minutes, like the 5 of us trying to unscrew it. We had pliers.
Little dudes.
Yeah, we had
5 big dudes.
We had like Anthony Campbell, who was like freaking a monster. He couldn't even budget. So, I mean, and then you send the email, and then that's when that company, instead of a screwing system, came up with a pole pin system, which worked better. But it's just like, who would have thought that eccentric hooks was so
complicated?
Yeah, but it makes me think: are we the only one using eccentric hooks?
Maybe.
But those hooks are such a pain because the holes were at the bottom, so you couldn't
see where
you had to
were
lift the
loading it.
plates
Yeah.
to see how many holes.
Oh my god, that's
horrible design.
Yeah.
And it's the type of thing you don't really see when you're shopping online.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't realize that.
I know a lot of our listeners are, well, actually we did that poll where we did what type of facility do you work out of, and the largest majority was actually private or boutique studios, so not public gyms. But I don't think it matters, it's across the board. But like, you brought up culture, and I think culture is extremely important in gyms, and that goes for how we're all going to the gym because we want to better ourselves, we want to get stronger, we're doing it for our health, all of these reasons. So the culture that gym has is extremely important. And when we were back in Rhode Island, we were going to LA Fitness for a few months before we moved to California. And I mean, it's really hard to have a culture in those gyms. Like, there's not really, it's not a great, it's not a great culture. But for example, I just thought I was being nice, and I went up to this woman who was not using the seated leg curl correctly, and I went up with a smile, and I just wanted to help her. And she gave me the dirtiest look, like I was doing something that I totally shouldn't have been doing at all. So that's not cool. But in those gyms, they aren't able to have a culture. But for all of you that have those private facilities, your culture comes from what you give out to your clients and then what your clients understand as the culture going in to the gym. So I think it's about always having a positive attitude. I know when we were in California where we had clients, we had a couple of dark cloud clients that we would do our best to try to change, because one person in a small studio gym can completely change the entire atmosphere for everyone coming to the gym. And we had individuals, other clients coming up to us saying like, whew,
it's heavy.
That one's really heavy. So
yeah, some people change their training times because of that.
Yeah. So I think it's up to you as a leader in your facility to really try to create the best atmosphere, because you want people to want to come to the gym. We're trying to get these people to commit to training, and that comes from every trainer that's on the gym floor. It comes from every person that's that works the front desk. It's from the second someone steps into the gym, how every single person treats them. We've been in gyms before where we're traveling and not a single trainer will acknowledge you when you're walking in. I think it's important to coach up your entire team so that someone walks into your facility, every single person is welcoming them and with a smile, encouraging them.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the hardest things to create is a really good culture. Because it's so easily broken.
Yeah.
Like if one person breaks it, everyone will break it. So it's a really, really hard thing. Like it can even come down to the choice of music that's on.
Yeah.
Music. That was another thing. People arguing, not just people arguing, I like this music, I like that music.
Yeah.
But I think as the trainer, if you are running a group session and there's one person, the key thing is to not let that person affect you, because people feed off of your energy. So it's even though they're there and that cloud is there, you have to be
and they might be going through something, so you don't know what they're dealing with. But I think it's important to always, it goes back to what you said in the first episode about personality being so important, is as a trainer, you can't let what you might be dealing with affect the service you're providing and the energy you're bringing into the gym, because that gym has to be positive for everyone coming into it.
But culture can be hard though, because you have to, it's like this fine line where so you need to have a culture that fits the clientele that your gym is targeting. For example, I think it's fair to say that the gym with the most known culture is Westside.
Yeah. Yep.
But it worked because Westside was attracting the hardcore. But can you imagine Louis Simmons being the owner of a boutique gym where we're catering to 35 to 55-year-old Gen Pop professionals?
No, but there was still a culture, and that culture got what it was.
Yeah, of course, you need a culture, but sometimes it's important that, because if you're a certain type of individual as the owner and you want a certain culture, but your entire business model does not cater to that culture that you want to develop, but you're force feeding that culture, it won't work. Yeah. So it has to, there needs to be this natural cohesiveness within the gym environment and the culture that the ownership want to display.
Yeah, even if you build a really high-end, nice facility, trying to attract the 35 to 50-year-old professionals, but then decide you want to try and get 18 to 22-year-old athletes in, that's going to be a hard sell. It's going to be a hard sell.
And then speaking on culture, and obviously everyone always asks us about our team and how we look at hiring and everything. Obviously, Porik is our one crew member. But in terms of when you're looking to build a team and create your culture, a lot of people tend to make the mistake of finding someone that's just like them. And so then they think, okay, we're going to do this together. But I think it's extremely important to look for people that don't have what you have. So finding your weaknesses and then finding strengths in someone else in order to move forward. And then when you're building a team of coaches, that how they interact and that culture and what everyone brings to the table is huge for the growth and development of a gym.
That's hard to do, but it's of the utmost importance for the growth, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that was a little bit of a casual one. So thank you for the listener.
Listener.
No. So the person that sent in the question. So thank you for sending that one. That was a bit different, but casual of a conversation for us. But we do enjoy when you guys send in topics we want to cover. Try to keep them like this was easy because it was a general topic. So if you send in a topic to us, general topics, not necessarily topics that you would need covered in a consultation, because those are a little bit different. Anything else anyone wants to close up this episode with? No. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.